Hey, Shalom, Shalom. It's your brother Ratazah Allah from GMS London Camp. First and foremost, when they give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakodash, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, blessings to the hopeful and sincere elect. Bachaya Kodash, that's the holy elect. Baha Ratazah, in and around the formats of the earth, greetings. That's a quick one, man. We're coming into that time. More psyops, more false flag attempts, all the Abkeo scenarios that the wicked elite are perpetuating behind closed doors, as the scriptures say. They they always mischief is in their belly. They're always plotting on ways to basically come after the tribes, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And more especially in these last days, coming into the time of the calamity of the American economy, they're looking for a great number of people to blame the downfall of America, aka modern day Rome 2.0, on a nation of people, which is going to be Jake. 2,000 years ago, they called you the Christians over there, and when you were being occupied by the Romans, guys like Nero and all of those different Roman Caesars back then, who was being occupied by the Romans, but in the time of Yahweh Shai and the disciples that later became apostles, and now we're being occupied by the American Romans, biblically known as the Edomites, man. Same people, just a different part of the earth and a different clothing, should I say, but the same mindset, the same mantra. Basically, they want to attack us tribes as being the cyst, basically the plague that's causing all the mayhem in the earth. And now, you got outright leftist groups and so on and so, KKK members or ex-KKK members resurfacing saying that, there's going to be a civil war, which that's in the scriptures anyway, but they're predominantly going to come after you Jakes, you tribes, man. And now you got Esau. Funny enough, you got this Edomite with the red hair, red dyed hair like a red heifer. And that's, indicative of Esau, Edom's traits. And you go to Genesis, the 25th chapter, it tells you that Esau came out all red, like a red garment. It's talking about the dye that you would put on a heifer would be, predominantly red, the pigment. And he's naturally red anyway. You can see the blood forming through his skin. And now, funny enough, he had to put some red dye in his hair, showing you that these devils are playing they're trying to play Jedi mind tricks on you tribes out here. But the men of the Lord, as the scripture says, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. So we can see when the devil's trying to set wiles and traps. And that's why we're here to warn you tribes out here that, heavy times are coming, grievous deaths, and Esau's plotting, man. Ezekiel 21:9 says there's going to be a great slaughter, terrors by reason of the sword, on all the princes of Israel by way of the slayer, and his blessing is the sword, which is the so-called white man. So it says, man accused of threatening to kill 30,000 black people in Cincinnati days after the Gavril attack video. Scott Hanna, 30, accused of posting a threat on X to assassinate 30,000 black Cincinnati residents by Sunday. So Esau's putting the spirit out there that it's time to, go to war against you tribes, man. You got all the ICE raids going on, attacking the Northern Kingdom, and they're going to come out for all the tribes predominantly after the fact, but they're concentrating on the Northern Kingdom right now. But they're going to come after you Southern tribes too, man. So-called African American Negro. And then in the midst of that, you're also going to have all these seditious and civil war type breakouts in society too. So now it's going to be, America's going to turn into the Wild Wild West, basically, man. Because, everyone wants to, have their Second Amendment right to bear arms. And at the time of sedition, uproars of the people's a national emergency or state of emergency, it's going to be a lot of looting and polluting and shooting going on, man. So America's definitely going to turn into the Wild Wild West again. It's going to be kill or be killed. This is the 9 dead in Ohio shooting. So Esau wants some get back, basically. And what does the scripture say about when you slaughter Cain, which is this predecessor's forefather, Cain, man? He lost his pigment. Said anyone that touches Cain, you will get basically paid back sevenfold, man. So he wants to kill 30,000 black Jakes, take you off the map, so to speak, in revenge for that shooting that went down over there in Ohio, and 9 people, if it was 9 Edomites got basically taken out, they want their get back sevenfold. So this is time of great war and evils multiplying on the earth. And Esau's putting this spirit out there because this is the vibe that's on the earth, man, the spirit of war. You know, clashing of the titans, so to speak, nation v nation, brother against brother, you know, and I'm going to get that in the scriptures. I won't make this too long, to keep it short and sweet, but you can see 2nd Ezra, the 15 and the 16 chapters basically coming into play majorly now, and we're getting into that time of more seditious behavior than ever before, because civil war is about to break out. So Isaiah 19:2 says, and I will set the Egyptians and against the Egyptians, and this is talking about the American citizens. So the Lord's going to set different citizens, American citizens, whether foreign or domestic, against other foreign and domestic citizens, mainly, you know, Esau, the Greeks, be the tribes, you know, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the modern day Egyptian citizens in America, and they're going to go to war. They're going to be a clash of the titans. It says, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And that's exactly what's going to happen, man. And you even had the video of that Jake, that brother's been, that went viral. Jake saying that basically for every Edomite, every Jake that they kill, the Edomite cop kills, they're going to go out and revenge that, you know. They want to get their revenge, basically, on any Jake that gets taken out or, you know, treated badly or violated by the cops or any other race, you know, especially Esau, Edom, the so-called white people. They're going to basically get revenge. And he said he wants to raise up 10,000 men around the different states of America to go to war against basically Esau. So you can see that clash of the titans spirit is coming, man. And it's basically the two main players, Jacob v Esau, man. Where Jacob makes up the 12 tribes and Esau makes up predominantly the Edomites, over there in the Americas, man. And scattered around the four winds, but mainly over there in Babylon the Great. Because that's where civil war is going to take place and ultimately America's going to be destroyed, man. So this war is inevitable. You know, if you don't believe me, just ask Agent Smith. You know, World War III is inevitable, as you would say. It's inevitability. Salakia. Let me get that Matthews. No, it's Luke, so Luke, I mean. 21. It's not a verse here. Things to come. I'll start from verse 10. Things to come mean prophecies waiting to happen, unfold. This is why we're called the prophets of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, because you're supposed to warn Jake of things that are going to happen before it happens, man. That's what a prophet does. A prophet ain't out here for no gimmicks or, you know, games and, you know, trying to be PC, world friendly and appeasing to the other nations. Like the majority of our people, man. You know, they got this thing where Jake's got this thing where they want to appease the so-called white man and, you know, and be world friendly Israelites, man. We ain't out here for that. We're telling this devil he's going down, he's going into slavery, and he's gonna have to bite that. He's gonna have to bite the dust, man. You know, and he's gonna have to bow down and kiss the ring when Yahweh Shai comes. And there ain't no negotiations with that. He that leadeth in the captivity shall go into captivity. And anyone that says anything other than that, you're going to be taken out of the way, man, because you're standing in front of the Lord's judgments, basically. So the Lord's going to move you out of the way. So it says things to come, Luke 21:10. Then said he unto them, this is Yahweh Shai speaking, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. So that's war. You got the situation right, you know, Trump sending all these different Navy ships and all that to surround Russia, you know, to try and intimidate Russia. And Putin just like, you know, sitting back, harboring the time, man, because of Medvedev, or whatever his name is. I can't always get his name mixed up. But Medvedev, the ex-president or general of, you know, Russia, and Putin's just biding his time, man, because he knows, man, the Lord's going to put a whole spirit on them Russians, man. And when the time is nigh, those nuclear missiles are going to go flying and they're going to hit their destination point, which is going to be America. So America could keep throwing all the, you know, the trash talking and intimidations all they want. But when it comes to that nuclear war, there's no going back. There's no negotiations. Now all of a sudden Trump is saying he wants to talk to Putin. But you just sent a bunch of Navy ships trying to surround his habitation over there in Russia. So that's a threat. You know, you're basically initiating provoking a war. A third world war, and now you want to talk. It don't make no fucking sense. But see, in that time, it tells you, Isaiah 13:17, that the Russians, the Medes, that's who the Medes are. The Russians, they're not going to regard gold nor silver, man. When it comes to it, man, the Lord's going to put hooks in their jaw, and that's it, man. Your ass is going to be smithereens, man, when them nuclear missiles are flying. And it's only going to take half an hour for a Satan 1 bomb to even be launched to touch down to the shores of America, as well as all the other warheads. And then you got all the other nations to deal with as well. China, Korea, and Iran. All your allies are going to turn against you also. So America's through. It says, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. And this is all happening right now. Why? Because this is the second coming. We're ushering in the second coming of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai. So these are the things to come. These are the things that he said we have to look for. So for certain, World War III is going to take place. For certain, there's going to be civil war. There's going to be more seditious behavior than ever before. And it's going to get really, very violent, man. It's going to be purge season out here. Kill or be killed, man, for the lack of bread and for great tribulation, man. That's the times that we're living in. And it's all necessary evils, man, you know. Because this is the, you know, final prophecies before we can be delivered. The elect are delivered out of this hellhole that we're living in Babylon the Great, aka America, man. You know, the final exodus of the Israelites, man. So, you know, let it happen, man. And obviously, you know, the MOT to the B, the C hipping has to come first before World War III. And that's definitely on the ball, you know, because Esau's touting that technology harder than ever before. So who knows, even before the end of this year, going into early next year, they're going to be initiating all these digital IDs. And it's going to go from digital IDs in your app to, you know, putting a biometric device underneath your skin, man. And it can happen and so quickly, you know, things can just change abruptly so quickly like that. So the Lord's speeding up the time. He said he's going to cut the time short for the elect's sake. So let me get Ezekiel 21:9. And then I'll jump to the Apocrypha and close out. But we're in some serious times, man. This is why we're constantly out there warning you tribes. But the time's going to come when the warnings are going to stop, like it tells you in Amos. The Lord's going to draw his prophets back, man. There's going to be a time when all hell breaks loose. You ain't going to see the prophets out there prophesying no more. Now Esau's saying they want to give, they want digital IDs and for people using YouTube accounts and Google accounts. And, you know, they want some form of identification before you can access websites now, you know, for verification. So what's that going into? The famine of the word. And ultimately, you're going to have the C-HIP to even be able to have a YouTube account very soon. If you want to have a YouTube account, Twitter account, whatever, go on social media, you're going to have that C-HIP technology and access by way of a digital ID. And if you ain't, basically you're locked out of the system. And that's what Esau's doing right now. Everything's about verification and the Palantir database so you can track and trace all the citizens of the earth. You know, that's the mark of the beast system, man. It's Ezekiel 21:9. Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord, say a sword is sharpened and also furbished. Yeah, and a sword is a killing instrument. So Esau's furbished his weaponry, basically. All the modern day technology, everything's advanced right now. More sophisticated than ever. And that's why this devil's so proud and propped up. Because, you know, he thinks he's going to be able to turn himself into a god using this technology, the AI and all that. But even, you know, even AI predicts his downfall, America's downfall. You ask AI, you know, you go into ChatGPT and all that, you know, it tells you, man, America's future is dark, man. It tells you about, you know, the destination of different kingdoms and, you know, the uprisings and the downfalls of different kingdoms. And it tells you America's basically no different, man. You know, and it references scriptures as well. Like, so even AI knows that America's through. And that America's modern compared to modern day Rome, you know, and the same like-minded type things that was happening back then, the downfall of Rome is happening now. Downfall of the economy, you know, people being rioting and all of that, bread and circuses, people losing their marbles and shit, you know, getting very riotous and, you know, very, volatile, man. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better. It says it's sharpened to make a sore slaughter. So we're in a time of great slaughtering, man. That's why you're going to be seeing numbers like threats of massacring 30,000 Jakes, and you know, because Esau actually wants to do it. He's not just saying it for the sake of saying it. They actually want to kill millions of you Jakes, man. You know, according to the Georgia Guidestones, they want to kill millions and millions of you Jakes, you tribes, and even their own people, man. Esau doesn't have no regard for blood. If that was hated, if that was, you know, if thou was not hated, blood shall pursue thee, as it says in Ezekiel 35 and verse 5 on down. It says it is furbished that it may glitter, should be then make mirth. So while Jake is thinking everything's, going back to normal, so to speak, and technologies, influencing the trends and setters and, signs of the times, basically, they're not knowing that their enemy's plotting against them, basically, man. And that Esau's getting ready to flip out on you tribes, man. But you can see it, man. You can taste it. You can smell it in the air, man. Something crazy is about to unfold in America. It's just that tension's brewing so much. It's gonna overboil. That pot's gonna overboil soon, man. That cauldron of war, and all out chaos is brewing like crazy right now in America. And only certain people can see it. People having nightmares and all kinds of dreams now. And the Lord said He's gonna pour out His Spirit on all flesh. And people having various Jakes are having a lot of dreams, especially women, having a lot of dreams about Jacob's trouble, the MOT to the B, seeing mass death, the smell of death in the streets. Now, you had one guy that's being accused of being Hamas T whatever, and he works for the American government, and he basically's come out to spill the beans on what's going on over there in Gaza, and now they're trying to label him a T. But he's a soldier for the American army and all that. But he said that, when you're over there in Gaza, all the dead rubble, all the dead bodies and the rubble and everything, and the heat, you just get used to the smell of smelling dead bodies, man. You get used to smelling death. And that's an horrific smell, man. Imagine you're smelling corpses all over the damn place, decomposing. No one coming to bury the bodies, smelling all kinds of fluid and waste, and because people's diets is crazy out here, so in that heat as well, and then all kinds of maggots, and it's been nasty. He said you get used to the smell of death out there, but it's so pungent that it's a smell you'll never forget. And that's what's going to come to America and worldwide, man. You're going to start getting used to the smell of death, smelling corpses all over the damn place, making you want to vomit. Well, that's the times they're coming into you, man. Some volatile times. Jake thinks this is a game, man, but them bodies are going to pile up very soon. So should we then make mirth? Contempt the rod of my son as every tree, and yet given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. Says this sword is sharpened, and it is furbished, that it may be give it into the hand of the slayer, which is who's so-called white man, Esau Edom, because that's his blessing, the sword, and he's the slayer, man. The Lord's gonna let Esau basically tear 2/3 of you tribes up in these last days, man. And even in Micah, like I told you, Jake's gonna be like a young lion amongst the midst of the sheep, basically the other nations, and they're gonna go to war, man, tearing their asses up too. So things are going to get very volatile out here, as I keep saying. It says, cry and howl, son of man. Cry and howl, son of man, for it shall be upon my people. It shall be upon all the princes of Israel. Yeah, so hell is coming to you tribes, man. 2/3, men, women, and children, man. Terrors by reason of the sword shall be upon my thigh. My people, Salakia, smite therefore upon thy thigh. So all hell is about to break loose, man. In situations like this is no joke, man. Because these devils actually feel like this. When you go on them different Twitter accounts and there's bare Edomites and on them Twitter different sites and that, and they're talking about Jake, man, and how diabolical Jake has become and what they want to do. They're basically looking at you like a bunch of wild animals that need to be put down. They want to massacre you tribes, man. That's how they're talking on Twitter, in them different sites, man. In between them different leftists and whatever groups they got on there. That's how they speak. They speak about you tribes, you people, and how they want to basically eradicate you. While Jake's out there trying to go to the latest festival and party and bullshit, man. Because Jake don't, get serious until shit hits the fan. But by then it's going to be too late. So this is 2 Ezra 15 and 14 says, woe unto the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. The modern day sword is the gun. So that even quantifies what man's saying about America's going to become the Wild Wild West. Like, America's definitely going to become the Wild Wild West. Because that's the spirit that's going to be out there. Spirit of war, spirit of survival of the fittest, all hell breaking loose. This civil unrest to the 10th power, man, is just going to be bloody. And people just going to be taking each other out, man. Bearing arms, all of that. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes. So government officials, all of that, they're out the window. Police, they're not going to regard the law, none of those things, man. It's going to be, fend for yourself. It says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. It says, and a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, but for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, Jacob's trouble, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. So people are going to be running up in your house with the gun, taking hold of your possessions, wherever they can find, and that includes you and your child and your woman and your daughters, if you have any. They're going to grip them up too and have their way. It tells you that in the book of Isaiah 13, that women are going to be ravished in these last days. All you pretty Instagram model bitches, you're going to regret, putting yourself out there like that, because certain men are going to be looking for you in those days, man. Certain men will be tracking you down, stalking you, just waiting for the opportunities. And when that time comes, they're going to come knocking, man, in the middle of the night. It says, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So this is the time that is coming on the earth. So don't be surprised, man, if, more situations like this break out. And this actually does happen, that more psyops. Ultimately, we know Esau, Edom, is behind a lot of these attempts as well, because as I said, mischief is in his heart, and he's trying to find ways to, create some order Abkeo type scenario so he can introduce his new world order more quicker, And this immigration problem and the domestic teas is definitely part of the MLT to the tracking system, MLT to the B tracking system that they want to initiate around the four winds of the earth, mainly over there in the Americas, man. So don't be surprised if this is one of them type of psyops. But yeah, this is why we've got to stay diligent and vigilant. I mean, they had that so-called New York shooter that they had the other day, so-called ran up into the NFL building and went up to the 40th floor, whatever. He was looking for the NFL corporate companies or whatever that he was looking for, employees, and he shot a police officer. Funny enough, his name was Islam. And I say, any man that's, got his scruples on, anyone that's got his wits about them, spiritually anyway, got the eyesight, you can see that that's just a psyop, man. Esau's trying to basically link Jake with Fizlam, man. Because why is the first cop that he shot dead, his name happened to be Fizlam? You take the fizz out of it, brothers know what I'm talking about, that religion. But he so-called had to be that, and it's a so-called black man that lost his marbles, basically lost his mind, and suffering from CTD, whatever it was, CTU, whatever that disease, mental disease, it was basically had demons on him anyway, if he even had it, but yeah, he went on a shooting tirade like an Edomite would do, and he just happened to shoot a guy named Fizlam, the first guy. So Esau's trying to link Jakes to you modern day domestic teas, man. And anyone that's not wise, anyone's not got their, not circumspect, wouldn't be able to see that. They won't be able to put two and two together. But we gonna see, man. But it's definitely getting volatile out there. I keep saying the word, but it's true. Things are gonna get worse before it gets better, man. So anyway, with that, I'm going to close out. Give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakhakodash, and Shalom to the hopeful and sincere elect.